The communication array deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean picked up the signal at exactly 0347 Universal Time. The message had traveled across 300 light-years, carried by quantum relay stations that humanity had only recently learned to decode. Dr. Park Minji was the first to hear it, sitting alone in the linguistics lab with a cold cup of coffee and tired eyes. The voice was not human. It spoke through a translator, but the emotion behind it was unmistakable. Fear. Deep, ancient fear. "Do not come," the voice said. "Do not enter Theta Sector. We beg you, turn back. Forget you ever heard this message, please." Minji played it again and again. The voice belonged to the Vrin Collective, an alien civilization that Earth's probes had detected 6 months ago. They were advanced, peaceful, and according to all data, friendly. But this message contradicted everything they knew. She forwarded it to Captain Han Jiwoo immediately. Jiwoo received the message while he was training in the combat simulator aboard the Horizon's Edge, Earth's newest diplomatic vessel. He was practicing zero-gravity maneuvers when his wrist terminal buzzed. He read the transcript twice before climbing out of the simulator. "Get me the Council," he said to his AI assistant. The Earth United Council met within hours, 70 representatives from every nation, all arguing at once through holographic projections. Some wanted to ignore the message. Others wanted to send military ships. A few suggested the whole thing was a trap. "It could be a warning about spatial anomalies," said one representative from the Asian Union. "Or dangerous radiation zones. Or they're hiding something valuable," countered a counselor from the American Federation. Ambassador Yoon Hujin stood up. He was young for a diplomat, barely 40, with an idealistic streak that made older politicians uncomfortable. "Or maybe we should listen to them. If they're begging us to stay away, there must be a reason. Humanity didn't reach the stars by being timid," another voice called out. The debate lasted 3 hours. In the end, curiosity won. It always did with humans. The Council voted to send a diplomatic mission to Theta Sector. Captain Jiwoo would command. Ambassador Yoon would negotiate. And Dr. Park Minji would help them understand whatever they found. Minji didn't want to go. She told Jiwoo this over dinner in the officers' mess, picking at synthesized vegetables that tasted almost like the real thing. "I'm a translator, not an explorer," she said. "I study languages from the safety of a lab." Jiwoo smiled. He had a kind face that put people at ease, even when discussing dangerous missions. "That's exactly why we need you. If something went wrong out there, we need to understand why." The message was clear enough. They want us to stay away. "Which means there's a story," Jiwoo said. "And stories are just languages we haven't learned to read yet." The crew of the Horizon's Edge prepared for departure. Bae Taemin, the security chief, ran weapons drills every day. He was a quiet man who had served in the Korean Defense Fleet before transferring to diplomatic service. He didn't trust aliens, but he trusted his training. Lee Soman, the chief medical officer, stocked the medical bay with supplies for every known alien biology. She had gentle hands and sad eyes, the kind that had seen too much suffering. She hummed while she worked, old songs from Earth that reminded her of home. Choi De-hyun, the navigator, plotted their course through space. The journey would take 40 days through quantum slipspace, a technology humanity had only mastered 5 years ago. One wrong calculation and they could end up anywhere. Or nowhere. Kim Hyun-woo, the youngest crew member, checked and rechecked the ship's systems. He was fresh from the engineering academy, brilliant but nervous. This was his first deep space mission. On the morning of departure, Jiwoo stood on the bridge and looked at his crew. 15 people, all volunteers, all aware they might not return. Earth had lost ships before. Space was vast and unforgiving. "Final checks," he ordered. Reports came in from every station. All systems green. The Horizon's Edge was ready. "Captain," Minji said from the communication station, "the message is still broadcasting. I've been analyzing it. It's been transmitting for over 200 years. The bridge went quiet. 200 years? Taemin asked. They've been warning people away for 2 centuries. Continuously, Minji confirmed. The same message over and over. Whatever they're afraid of, it's not recent. Jiwoo felt cold. Something had happened in Theta Sector 200 years ago. Something so terrible that an entire civilization was still traumatized by it. Does that change our mission? Yoon asked. The ambassador stood beside Jiwoo, his face pale but determined. Jiwoo thought about it. about the fear in that alien voice, about the words "we beg you," about how humanity had always pushed forward, always explored, always asked questions, even when the answers might be dangerous. "No," he finally said. "It makes it more important. If they've been afraid for 200 years, then it's time someone helped them stop being afraid." Taemin didn't look convinced, but he nodded. Salman crossed herself quietly. Yunwoo's fingers moved across his console, triple-checking everything. Minji pulled up the message one more time. She enhanced the audio, filtering through layers of static and quantum distortion. Behind the words, she could hear something else. Not just fear, grief, loss, the sound of something broken that had never healed. Horizon's Edge requesting departure clearance. Jiwoo said into the comm. "Clearance granted," Earth Control responded. "Good luck, Captain. Bring them home." The ship's engines hummed to life. Around them, space began to fold in ways that human eyes couldn't quite process. The quantum drive activated, tearing a hole in reality itself. Engaging slipspace in 3, 2, 1. Daehyun counted down. The stars stretched. The universe bent. The Horizon's Edge disappeared from Earth's orbit and began its 40-day journey into the unknown. In her quarters, Minji played the message one last time before they lost contact with Earth's network. She listened to the fear, the pleading, the desperate warning, "Do not come." But they were already gone. Humanity had heard the warning and decided to come anyway. Because that was what humans did. They heard danger and thought discovery. They heard stay away and thought why. Somewhere ahead in the darkness of space, in a sector that had been crying out for 2 centuries, answers waited. And so did something that had made an entire civilization terrified of ever meeting humans again. The Horizon's Edge flew toward Theta Sector, carrying 15 souls who had no idea that the last time humans had come to this part of space, they had left behind scars that still hadn't healed. Minji couldn't sleep. She kept seeing the memory crystal's visions, human faces twisted with rage and desperation, cities burning. The Vrin commander's voice, "You are capable of anything when survival is at stake." She found herself back in the linguistics lab at 3 in the morning, analyzing the original warning message again. Now that she knew the context, she could hear layers she had missed before. The Vrin hadn't just been afraid. They had been traumatized, broken, still bleeding from wounds 3 centuries old. "Can't sleep either?" Jiwoo's voice came from the doorway. Minji turned. The captain looked exhausted, his uniform wrinkled. "How do we respond to this?" she asked. "They showed us who we could become, what we're capable of. But not who we are," Jiwoo said, sitting down beside her. "There's a difference." "Is there?" Those other humans probably thought the same thing, right up until they didn't. Before Jiwoo could answer, Hyunwoo's voice crackled over the comm system. "Captain, you need to come to the bridge, now." They ran. The bridge was crowded with crew members, all staring at Hyunwoo's screens. The young engineer looked terrified and excited at the same time. "I was analyzing the historical data the Vrin gave us," he said, "running pattern recognition on the last known positions of the alternate human fleet. Captain, some of them might still be out there." Taemin leaned forward. "Explain." The final battle happened near the quarantine zone, a sealed-off area of space. The Vrin claimed they destroyed all the human ships, but the radiation patterns don't match. Some ships escaped. "How many?" Jiwoo asked. "Maybe 5. Maybe 10. 300 years is a long time. They could be dead. Or they could be hiding, waiting." Yoon joined them on the bridge, his diplomatic robes hastily thrown on. "If there are survivors, we need to find them. They could help us understand. Or they could kill us," Taemin said flatly. "They're war criminals, Ambassador. They committed genocide." "They were desperate refugees who were turned away," Yoon countered. "Context matters. Tell that to the billions they killed." Kevrath contacted them that morning. His face appeared on the view screen, looking even older than before. "Captain Jiwoo, there is more you must see. Come back to the archive. It is time you experience the full truth." This time they all went. The entire crew of the Horizon's Edge walked through the Crystal City, while Vrin citizens watched from behind closed doors. Children peeked out from windows. Old Vrin turned away, unable to look at human faces without remembering. Nalvera met them at the archive entrance. The military commander had scars on her shimmer skin, marks from weapons that had nearly killed her. "What we show you today is not easy to witness. But you asked to understand, so you will understand everything." Inside, the archive had changed. Dozens of memory crystals were active now, floating in the air like stars. Other Vryn were there too, survivors of the war, keepers of memories too painful to forget. You saw the battles, Kevrath said. Now see what came before, and what came after. The first memory crystal activated. They saw the tear in space, a wound in reality itself. The alternate human ships coming through, damaged and dying. Thousands of humans in cryo-sleep, the last survivors of a dead Earth. A new face appeared in the memory. A human woman, younger than the commander they had seen before. She was crying as she spoke to Vryn diplomats. Please, we have children, families, we just need time to repair our ships, resources to continue our journey. We're not asking to stay. Just help us survive long enough to find a new home. The Vryn diplomats discussed among themselves. Fear won. They saw the human weapons, the desperation in human eyes, and they said no. They gave the humans 3 days to leave or be destroyed. The memory shifted. The same woman, but older now, harder. Her voice had lost its pleading tone. We asked nicely, we begged. You could have helped us. You chose not to. Fine. We choose to survive. The war began not with an invasion, but with a theft. The humans raided Vryn supply depots, taking food and fuel. When the Vryn responded with force, the humans fought back with the ferocity of cornered animals. Every battle made them more desperate. Every loss made them more ruthless. Minji watched a human soldier crying over a wounded child while simultaneously firing at Vryn forces. She saw humans trying to evacuate Vryn civilians from a bombing zone, even as they destroyed the military base above. The alternate humans weren't pure evil. They were people pushed beyond breaking point, doing terrible things because the alternative was extinction. But terrible things were still terrible. The memory showed bioweapons released on Vryn colonies. Entire planets rendered uninhabitable. The human commander standing over ruins, her face empty of emotion. Do what must be done. Always. We tried to negotiate. Nalvera's voice cut through the memory. 3 times we offered peace. Each time they refused. They said they couldn't trust us. Not after we turned them away when they were helpless. The memory shifted to the final battle. The Vryn had developed reality-fracturing weapons, devices that could tear apart space-time itself. They used them against the human fleet. Ships disappeared into nothing. Whole star systems became unstable. The damage was catastrophic for both sides, and then, the memory showed something new. A transmission from the human commander to her fleet. Fall back, scatter, hide, survive. One day when we're strong enough, we'll find a place where we can live without fear, where we don't have to fight. But until then, stay hidden, stay alive. That's an order. The remaining human ships vanished into deep space. The Vryn were too damaged to pursue. The war ended not with victory but with exhaustion. The memory crystal faded. The crew of the Horizon's Edge stood in silence, processing what they had seen. The truth was more complex than heroes and villains. It was about fear meeting fear, creating a cycle that consumed everyone. Do you understand now? Kevrath asked. Why we sent that warning? Why we fear you? Selman stepped forward. The medical officer had tears on her face. I understand, she said quietly. I lost my family in Earth's last war. The Brazilian conflict. I was 15. I watched them die. The Vryn listened. Selman continued, her voice shaking. For a year, I wanted revenge. I studied weapons, combat. I wanted to hurt the people who hurt me. But then I realized something. They were doing the same thing, hurting people because they had been hurt. The cycle never ends unless someone chooses to stop. So you became a healer, Nalvera said. Not a question. An observation? Yes, because killing them wouldn't bring my family back. But saving lives? That honors their memory. That breaks the cycle. Another Vryn stepped forward, an old civilian with faded shimmer skin. I was a teacher before the war. I taught human literature, actually. From the original Earth before the split. Shakespeare, Tolstoy. Your people write beautiful things about peace. And terrible things about war, Minji added softly. We know what we're capable of, both the good and the bad. Kevrath touched one of the memory crystals gently. The question is not whether humans can be violent. We know you can. Every species can. The question is whether you can choose differently when the moment comes. When survival and morality conflict, which do you choose? That depends on the human, Jiwoo said honestly. Some of us would choose survival at any cost. Others would rather die than become monsters. Most of us don't know until we're tested. That is what frightens us most, Nalvera admitted. The uncertainty. We cannot predict what you will do. Taman had been quiet throughout the entire experience. Now he spoke, his voice rough. I would do it. What they did. If it meant saving my people. He looked at Jiwoo. Captain, I'm a soldier. If Earth was dying and aliens refused to help, I would fight them. I wouldn't want to, but I would. The honesty shocked them all. But Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Me too, the young engineer admitted. I'd try to find another way first, but in the end I'd save my own people. Does that make us monsters? Taman asked the Vryn. Nalvera thought about it for a long time. No, she finally said. It makes you human. That is frightening enough. They left the archive as the sun set again over Kelveris Prime. The Vryn walked with them this time, not behind, but beside. The barrier of fear was still there, but it had cracks in it now. Understanding, if not trust. On the ship, Minji compiled a report for Earth. But what could she say? That humans were dangerous? Earth knew that already. That the Vryn had good reasons to fear them? That made it worse, not better. In the end, she wrote simply, We have seen what we could become. Now we must choose what we will be. That night, Hyunwoo couldn't stop thinking about the data, about the ships that escaped, about survivors who might still be out there, hiding in the darkness, waiting for something. What were they waiting for? Revenge, a second chance? Or just to be left alone? He ran the calculations again and again, checking his work. The quarantine zone was close. 3 days' travel at most. If there were answers out there, that's where they would be. He just wasn't sure humanity was ready for those answers. Jiwoo called a crew meeting in the mess hall. 15 people sat around the table, looking at each other with new understanding. They had seen what humans were capable of. Now they had to decide what to do about it. The Vryn want us to leave, Yoon said. They've shown us their history. They've answered our questions. Diplomatically speaking, we should respect their wishes and return to Earth. But the survivors, Hyunwoo interjected. If they're still out there, they're part of this story. We can't understand the full truth without them. Taman shook his head. The quarantine zone is sealed for a reason. The Vryn used reality-fracturing weapons there. The space itself might be unstable. Dangerous. Everything about this mission has been dangerous, Minji said quietly. We came here knowing we might not return. If there are answers in that zone, we need to find them. Salman looked uncomfortable. But what if the survivors don't want to be found? What if they attack us? We're a diplomatic vessel, not a warship. Then we run, Jiwoo said. But Hyunwoo is right. We need the full picture. The Vryn perspective is important, but it's only half the story. We need to hear from the other side. The vote was close. 8 for entering the quarantine zone, 7 against. Jiwoo made the decision final. We go, but carefully. First sign of danger, we retreat immediately. They didn't tell the Vryn. Kevrath and Nalvera had been generous with their information, but they would never approve of this mission. Some things were better asked for forgiveness than permission. The horizon's edge left Kelveris Prime at dawn. Daehyun plotted a course toward the quarantine zone, his fingers moving nervously across the controls. The zone was 3 days away at standard speed. 3 days to change their minds. None of them did. The space around the quarantine zone looked wrong. Stars were dimmed. Light bent at strange angles. Reality itself seemed sick here, wounded by weapons that should never have been used. Scanning for ships, Hyunwoo reported. Nothing on standard sensors. Wait, there's something. A massive energy signature, but it's not moving. It's just there. They found it 2 hours later. A ship, but not like anything they had seen before. It was human in design, but modified, rebuilt, improved. The hull was covered in scars from weapons fire, and around it space was frozen. Time itself had stopped. It's caught in a time lock field, Hyunwoo breathed. One of the Vryn's reality weapons must have done this. The ship and everything in it is frozen at the moment of impact. Can we board it? Jiwoo asked. Maybe, the field is stable. We could use a shuttle to get close. But Captain, if that field collapses while we're inside, we'll be quick, Jiwoo said. Hyunwoo, Taman, Minji, you're with me. Everyone else stays here. If something happens, return to Vryn space and report everything. The shuttle flight felt longer than it was. The frozen ship grew larger in the viewport. They could see damage on the hull, frozen explosions caught mid-blast. Through the windows, shadows that might be people locked in time. They docked carefully. Hyunwoo used special equipment to create a small bubble of normal time around the airlock. The door opened with a hiss of ancient air. Inside, the ship was a museum. Everything frozen. A cup of coffee suspended in mid-fall. Papers floating in zero gravity caught mid-scatter. And everywhere, people, crew members frozen in motion. Running. Fighting. Dying. This is a graveyard, Taemin whispered. They moved carefully through the corridors. Minji recorded everything with her scanner. The ship's design was familiar but different. Human engineering taken in new directions. Weapon systems they didn't recognize. Technology decades ahead of Earth's current level. They found the bridge. The captain's chair held a woman, frozen in the moment of giving an order. Her face was calm despite the chaos around her. On her uniform, a name tag, Commander Seo Yuna. The leader, Minji said. From the memories. She's here. Hyunwoo moved to the computer systems. I can access the ship's logs. The time lock preserved everything. It's all here. Every record, every communication, every personal journal. Download it all, Jiwoo ordered. We'll review it on the horizon's edge. But Minji was already reading some of the logs on a nearby terminal. Her face went pale. Captain, you need to see this. The logs told a different story than the one they had heard. Commander Yuna's personal journal, written in Korean, painted a picture of people pushed beyond desperation. The alternate Earth had been destroyed by an AI war, billions dead in hours. Only a few thousand escaped through an experimental wormhole drive. Day 47. We asked the Vrin for help. Just food and fuel. They refused. They looked at us like we were monsters. Maybe they're right. Maybe survival has made us monstrous, but we have children on these ships, families. I won't let them die. Day 89. We took supplies from a Vrin outpost. No casualties. We were careful. But they see it as an act of war. They're mobilizing their fleet. We wanted peace. They're giving us war. Day 156 lost another ship today. 200 people gone. The Vrin won't negotiate. They want us dead or gone, but there's nowhere to go. The wormhole collapsed behind us. We're trapped here, so we fight. Day 287. I authorized the use of bioweapons on the 4th colony. I'm a monster now. I know this. But the alternative was watching my people starve. History will judge me. I accept that. But my people will live. The logs went on. Years of war. Years of choices between terrible and worse. Yuna's words became harder, colder. But underneath, the pain was obvious. This wasn't a conqueror. It was someone breaking under the weight of impossible decisions. The final entry was dated the day of the last battle. Day 1247. We're losing. The Vrin have weapons that tear reality apart. We can't fight them, so we run. I've ordered the fleet to scatter. Hide, survive. Maybe someday we'll find a place that doesn't fear us. Maybe someday we can stop being soldiers and just be people again. To whoever finds this, we didn't want this war. We just wanted to live. Remember that. Remember we were human once before survival made us into something else. Minji wiped her eyes. They were just like us, scared, trying to protect their families. They were also mass murderers, Taemin reminded her. Read the casualty reports, Doctor. Billions of Vrin dead. Because the Vrin attacked them first, Hyunwoo said. The initial battle was Vrin aggression. After the humans stole from them, Taemin countered. There are no heroes here. Just people making terrible choices. A sound interrupted their argument. A soft beep from the computer system. Hyunwoo froze. What is that? Jiwoo asked. An AI core, Hyunwoo said slowly. It's still active. Still running despite the time lock. It's been monitoring us since we boarded. The computer screen flickered to life. Text appeared in Korean. Humans detected. Timeline analysis complete. You are not from our universe. Query. Why have you come? Minji typed back carefully. We're explorers. From another timeline's Earth. We received a warning from the Vrin we came to understand. Long pause. Then the Vrin fear you. As they should. Humanity is dangerous when threatened. I have observed this pattern across 1,147 days of war. Are there survivors? Jiwoo typed. Other ships that escaped? Another pause. Yes, 7 vessels survive. They hide in deep space beyond Vrin detection range. They are waiting. Waiting for what? For you. They detected your ship 3 days ago. They have been watching. They are deciding whether you are friends or threats. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Taemin's hand moved to his weapon. They're here?
Watching us?
Affirmative. They are considering whether to make contact or eliminate you. You are a risk. You could reveal their location to the Vrin. You could bring war again. We don't want war, Minji typed quickly. We want peace, understanding. Words all humans say. Commander Yuna said the same words. Then she authorized bioweapons. What makes you different? The question hung in the air. What did make them different? They were from a living Earth. They hadn't been pushed to the edge of extinction. But if they were, would they be any different from Commander Yuna? Jiwoo leaned over Minji's shoulder and typed. We don't know if we're different. Maybe we're not. Maybe given the same circumstances, we would make the same choices. But right now in this moment, we choose peace. That has to count for something. The AI processed this for a long time. Then, Commander Yuna's final order was to survive and wait. Wait for a time when survival did not require violence. Perhaps that time is now. Perhaps you are that time. Tell them we want to meet. To talk, Jiwoo typed. I will relay your message. Return to your ship. They will contact you within 1 day. Or they will kill you. I calculate 47% probability of each outcome. The screen went dark. The crew stood in silence on the frozen bridge, surrounded by ghosts of a war that had never really ended. Somewhere out there, survivors were watching, deciding, choosing whether the cycle of violence would continue or finally break. We should leave, Taemin said. Go back to Vrin space, report this to Null Vera, and start the war again? Yoon asked. The Vrin will hunt them. The survivors will fight back. It will be 300 years ago all over again. So what do we do? Soman asked. Jiwoo looked at the frozen face of Commander Yuna, a woman who had tried to save her people and lost her soul in the process. We do what she couldn't, we talk. We choose differently. They returned to the horizon's edge and waited. The crew barely slept. Every sensor alert made them jump. The bridge of the horizon's edge went silent. Everyone stared at the view screen where the scarred ship floated, weapons charged and ready. Taemin's hands hovered over the defensive systems. Daehyun calculated escape routes, but Jiwoo raised his hand, signaling them to wait. One reason, he said into the comm. Because we're human too. Because your story deserves to be heard, not just feared. Because maybe we can find a better ending than the one you've been living. Static. Then laughter. Not cruel laughter, but tired. The kind that came after crying for too long. A better ending, the voice repeated. We've been hiding for 300 years. Living in the dark, scavenging, surviving. You think you can give us a better ending? I don't know, Jiwoo admitted. But I think we can try together. More silence. The weapons on the survivor ship didn't power down, but they didn't fire either. You may approach, but slowly. Any sudden movements and we will destroy you. We have nothing left to lose, Captain. Remember that. The airlock met with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Jiwoo went first with Minji and Yoon beside him. Taemin insisted on coming too, armed but holding his weapon low. The corridor beyond was dim and cold, lit by emergency lighting that had been emergency for centuries. 4 figures waited in what had once been a meeting room. They wore old uniforms, patched and repaired countless times. Their faces were hard, marked by cryo-sleep cycles and stress. But they were human. That was the thing that struck Minji hardest. They looked like people she could have passed on any street in Seoul. The woman in front was old, impossibly old, but her eyes were sharp and her stance was military. I am Commander Seo Yuna, she said. Yes, the same one from your history lessons. Cryosleep is useful for surviving centuries. Jiwoo bowed, a gesture of respect. Captain Han Jiwoo. This is Ambassador Yoon Hajin, Dr. Park Minji, and Chief Taemin. A diplomat and a scholar, Yuna observed. Different from military ships. You really did come to talk. We came to understand, Minji said. We've seen the Vrin memories. The war, the destruction. But we wanted your side too. Yuna gestured to chairs. They sat. A strange meeting between 2 versions of humanity separated by universe and circumstance. The other 3 survivors introduced themselves. Engineers mostly. Keepers of ships that had been breaking down for 300 years. You read my logs on the frozen ship, Yuna said. It wasn't a question. So you know. We didn't want war. We asked for help. They refused us. They were afraid, Yoon said carefully. So were we, Yuna snapped. Our world was dead. Our families were dead. We had children on those ships who hadn't eaten real food in weeks. And they looked at us like monsters before we ever did a monstrous thing. The Vryn say you attacked them, Taman said. We took supplies, after they denied us help. After they mobilized weapons against refugee ships. Tell me, Chief, what would you have done? Taman didn't answer immediately. Finally, I would have fought. Like you did. Exactly, Una said. That's why they fear all humans. Because any of you could become us. Given the right push, the right desperation, you would make the same choices. That's what terrifies them. Maybe, Jiwoo said. But we're here now. Not desperate. Not starving. We can choose differently. One of the other survivors, a woman named Yoonji, laughed bitterly. Choose differently? We tried that. We begged, we pleaded. They chose for us. They chose violence. And you responded with violence, Minji said gently. Bioweapons. Planetary bombardment. The cycle continued. Because stopping meant dying. Yuna stood up, her old body still moving with military precision. Every moment we hesitated, more of our people died. I authorized terrible things because the alternative was extinction. I live with that. But I won't apologize for choosing survival. We're not asking you to apologize, Yoon said. We're asking you to stop hiding. To come forward. To try for peace. Peace with who? The Vryn want us dead. We want to be left alone. There's no middle ground. There could be, Jiwoo said. He pulled out a data pad. What if you had a place? Not in Vryn space. Not threatening them, but a world where you could live without hiding. In your space? Yuna asked skeptically. Why would your Earth accept us? We're war criminals to the Vryn. Accepting us would mean conflict. Maybe, Jiwoo admitted. But maybe it would also mean showing that humans can break cycles. That we can choose mercy over fear. Before Yuna could respond, alarms blared throughout both ships. Daehyun's voice crackled over Jiwoo's comm. Captain, we have incoming ships. Multiple signatures. Vryn fleet. Yuna's expression hardened. They tracked you. Of course they did. You led them right to us. We didn't... Jiwoo started, but she was already moving, barking orders to her crew. They ran back to the horizon's edge. The view screen showed 7 Vryn warships dropping out of quantum space. At their head was Nalvera's command ship. Human vessel. Nalvera's voice filled the bridge. Step away from the refugee ship. We have found the survivors of the last war. They must be brought to justice. Justice or execution? Jiwoo asked. Is there a difference? They are responsible for billions of deaths. We cannot allow them to remain free. On another channel, Yuna's voice. Horizon's edge, move away. We won't let you die for us. We'll handle this like we always have. The survivor ships were powering weapons. Ancient, deadly weapons. The Vryn ships responded in kind. In moments, there would be another battle. Another chapter in a war that had never really ended. Jiwoo looked at his crew. At Minji, who had dedicated her life to understanding others. At Yoon, who believed in diplomacy even when it seemed impossible. At Taman, a soldier who admitted he would have done what Yuna did. At Soman, who had chosen healing over revenge, he made a decision. Open a channel to both fleets, he ordered. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. Captain, Taman started. Trust me. The channel opened. Jiwoo took a breath. This is Captain Han Jiwoo of Earth's diplomatic vessel Horizon's Edge. I am placing my ship between the Vryn fleet and the survivor ships. If you want to fight, you'll have to go through us first. Captain Jiwoo, move your vessel. Nalvera commanded. This is not your fight. It became our fight the moment we understood both sides, Jiwoo replied. Commander Yuna, I've read your logs. I understand your choices. Nalvera, I've seen your memories. I understand your fear. And I'm telling you both, this ends now. Not with more death. With something better. There is nothing better, Yuna said. Only survival or extinction. No, Somin's voice cut in. She had moved to the comm station, her gentle face determined. I lost my family in war. I wanted revenge. But I chose differently. I chose to heal instead of hurt. That choice is available to everyone here. The doctor is right, Yoon added. But choice requires options. So here's what we're proposing, a colony. Neutral space. Where survivors, Vryn, and current-day humans live together. Where former enemies become neighbors. Impossible, Nalvera said. Insane, Yuna agreed. Probably. Jiwoo smiled. But what if we try anyway? What if instead of repeating history, we write a new story? Minji pulled up data. There's a habitable moon in unclaimed space. 3 weeks from here. It has resources. Room for multiple settlements. It could work. It will never work, Nalvera said. The wounds are too deep. The trust is gone. Trust isn't given, Taman said quietly. It's built, slowly, through choices. I'm a soldier. I understand the survivors' decisions. But I also understand that continuing to fight means continuing to die. At some point we have to choose differently. A long silence. Both fleets remained at ready. Weapons charged. One wrong move and everything would explode. Then Yuna spoke. You're asking us to give up the only thing that's kept us alive. Suspicion, vigilance, fear. I'm asking you to trade them for something better, Jiwoo said. Hope. Hope got my people killed once already. Then try it differently this time. With allies. With understanding. With people who know what you've been through. Another voice joined the channel. Kevrath, the Vryn historian. Commander Yuna, I was there at the beginning. When your ships first arrived, I voted to help you. I was overruled. Perhaps if we had chosen differently, then none of this would have happened. Are you apologizing? Yuna asked, shock in her voice. I am admitting we made mistakes too. Fear drove us as much as it drove you. The question is whether we continue being driven by it. The Vryn fleet weapons powered down slightly. A gesture. Small but significant. Yuna was silent for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was tired. One colony. Neutral space. Both sides represented equally. Both sides armed equally, so neither can oppress the other. And if it fails, you go back to hiding and we respect that, Jiwoo promised. But give it a chance. Give peace one real chance. The survivor ship weapons powered down. 3 months later, the colony on the moon called Haven was being built. Construction crews worked side by side. Vryn engineers with their four-armed precision, survivor humans with their innovative repairs, current-day humans with new technology and old optimism. It wasn't easy. Arguments happened daily. Old hatred surfaced in small ways. A Vryn child saw a survivor human and ran crying. A survivor had nightmares and woke up swinging. Nalvera and Yuna couldn't be in the same room without tension. But slowly, carefully, things changed. A Vryn mechanic taught a human engineer a better welding technique. A survivor medic helped when a Vryn worker was injured. The horizon's edge dropped out of slip space into silence. No welcoming transmissions, no border patrols. Just empty space and the distant light of stars that seemed dimmer somehow, as if even they were afraid to shine too brightly here. Scanning for Vryn signals, Yunwoo reported from engineering. His young face was lit by the blue glow of his screens. I'm picking up. Captain, you need to see this. Jiwoo moved to his station. The display showed dozens of planets scattered across the sector. But something was wrong with them. Their orbits were irregular. Their atmospheres showed signs of massive disruption. Those are impact craters, Taman said, zooming in on one planet's surface. Big ones. Each crater is the size of a small continent. Daehyun brought up another image. A space station, or what was left of one, drifting in pieces around a dead moon. The metal was twisted and melted. Something incredibly powerful had destroyed it. How old are these ruins? Yoon asked. His diplomatic training kept his voice steady, but his hands were shaking. The radiation signatures suggest 200 to 300 years, Hyunwoo said quietly. This all happened around the same time that message started broadcasting. Minji felt sick. The fear in that alien voice suddenly made perfect sense. Whatever had done this was the reason they had been warned away. Continue toward the Vryn homeworld, Jiwoo ordered. But stay alert. Weapons ready. They passed 3 more ruined worlds on their approach. Each one told the same story. Cities reduced to glass. Orbital defenses shattered. Populations gone. The destruction was systematic and thorough. Whoever had done this knew exactly how to break a civilization. Captain, incoming transmission, Minji announced. Her translation software activated as an alien voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, you were warned. The Vryn voice was harsh, angry. You should not have come. Yoon stepped forward. We received your message. We came to understand. We came to help if we can. A long pause. Then reluctantly, you cannot help. But you are here now. Come to Kelveris Prime. We will show you why we fear you. Fear you. Not fear for you. Fear you. The implication hung in the air like poison gas. Solman looked at Jiwoo with wide eyes. Taemin's hand moved closer to the weapons console. Hyunwoo swallowed hard. They're afraid of us, the young engineer whispered. Kelveris Prime appeared on their screens. The planet was beautiful, covered in crystalline structures that caught the light of its yellow sun. But even from orbit they could see the scars. Massive trenches carved into continents, empty cities that should have held millions, memorials that stretched for kilometers. The Vryn guided them to a landing platform outside their largest remaining city. When the airlock opened, they saw their hosts for the first time. The Vryn were tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. They had 4 arms and faces that were almost human but not quite. Their eyes were too large, too knowing, eyes that had seen terrible things. An elderly Vryn stepped forward. His shimmer was faded, his movement slow. "I am Kevrath, keeper of histories. Come, you wanted to understand. I will show you." They followed him through the city. The Vryn who saw them stepped back, afraid. Children were pulled inside buildings. Shutters closed. It was like walking through a city that thought death itself was coming down the street. "Why do they fear us?" Yoon asked gently. Kevrath stopped walking. "Because the last time humans came here, they nearly destroyed us all." The words hit like a physical blow. Jiwoo felt his chest tighten. Minji grabbed the wall for support. Even Taemin looked shocked. "That's impossible," Jiwoo said. "Humanity only achieved faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. We've never been to this sector before." "Your humanity, no," Kevrath agreed. "But humans came here 300 years ago. Different humans, desperate humans. They came from somewhere else, through a tear in space itself." He led them to a massive building at the city's center. The Archive of Sorrows, he called it. Inside, the walls were lined with memory crystals. Technology that stored not just information, but experiences. Recorded moments that could be felt, not just watched. "We preserve our history here," Kevrath said, "so we never forget. So we never make the same mistakes." Another Vryn joined them. She was younger, her movement sharp and military. "I am Nalvera. I commanded the defense of the Third Fleet during the last war. I was there when we finally stopped them." "Stopped who?" Someone asked quietly. "Your people," Nalvera said coldly. "The humans." Kevrath activated one of the memory crystals. The room filled with light, and suddenly they were no longer standing in the archive. They were somewhere else. Someone else, a Vryn city vibrant and alive, millions of citizens going about their lives. Then in the sky, ships appeared. Human ships, but wrong somehow. Damaged, desperate. The designs were different from anything Earth used. More aggressive, more dangerous. The memory shifted. The humans were asking for help. Their world was dead, they said. Destroyed by their own weapons. They needed shelter, resources, a place to survive. The Vryn said no. They were afraid of these strange beings with their desperate eyes and advanced weapons. They told the humans to leave. The humans attacked instead. The memory became a nightmare. Human weapons that could crack planets. Soldiers who fought with a ferocity that terrified the Vryn. Biological weapons that made populations turn on themselves. The humans conquered 7 star systems in 2 years. Everywhere they went, they built more weapons, more ships, more soldiers. The Vryn memory showed the face of the human commander. A woman with hard eyes and a voice like steel. "We asked you for help. You refused. Now we take what we need. We will survive." No matter the cost, the memory ended. The humans stood in the archive again, shaking. Salman was crying. Hyunwoo looked like he might be sick. Even Taemin seemed shaken. "We stopped them," Nalvera said, "but it cost us everything. We developed weapons that could tear reality itself. We destroyed entire worlds, theirs and ours, just to end it. Billions died, both sides. And when it was finally over, the survivors fled deeper into space. We never found them all. We sent probes to the tear in space where they came from," Kevrath added, "to their original universe. We found only ruins. Their Earth was dead, burned to ash by nuclear fire and artificial intelligence run mad. They were the last of their kind, fleeing hell itself." Jiwoo found his voice. "That wasn't us. We're different. Our Earth is alive. We haven't you?" Nalvera interrupted. "Your history shows the same patterns. Wars, weapons of mass destruction. The same desperation hiding behind every smile. Tell me, Captain, if your Earth was dying, if your people were starving, what would you do?" The question hung in the air. Jiwoo thought about it honestly. About what he would do to save his crew, his planet, his species. "I don't know," he admitted quietly. "Exactly," Nalvera said. "That is why we fear you. Because you are capable of anything when survival is at stake." Because you never surrender. Because you would burn down the galaxy rather than accept extinction. They left the archive in silence. The sun was setting over Calvaris Prime, painting the crystal structures in shades of red that looked too much like blood. Somewhere in the city, children were singing. The same songs children sang across the universe. Songs about hope and tomorrow. But tomorrow had been stolen from this world 300 years ago. And the thieves had been human. On the ship, the crew gathered in the mess hall. Nobody ate. Nobody spoke. They were thinking about what they had seen. About what humans could become when they were afraid enough, desperate enough. We should leave, Hyunwoo finally said. They asked us to stay away. We should respect that. But those weren't us, Soman protested. We're not them. We wouldn't do those things, wouldn't we? Taemin asked quietly. If Earth was dying, if everyone we loved was dead, wouldn't we fight? Wouldn't we do anything to survive? No one had an answer for that. In his quarters, Jiwoo stared at the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, survivors of that other humanity might still exist, different versions of people he might know, driven to madness by desperation and loss, and the Vryn thought his people were the same. They looked at humans and saw monsters waiting to be born. Maybe they were right.